morning. It is the eve of Christmas, so I can say Merry Christmas. Welcome to Business Morning. I'm Chimeze Obi Iwagu. We start off from the global oil market as oil prices fell on Friday morning in thin holiday trade after a three-day rally, with investors trying to gauge the Omicron coronavirus variant's impact on demand. Brent crude futures slid 29 cents to $76.56 a barrel, following a 2.1% gain in the previous session. The benchmark was still on track for a weekly gain of about 4%. U.S. markets are closed on Friday for the Christmas holiday. Oil prices have recovered this week as fears over the impact of the highly infectious Omicron variant on the global economy receded, with early data suggesting it causes a milder level of illness. Omicron advanced across the world on Thursday, with health experts warning the battle against the COVID-19 variant was far from over, despite two drug makers saying their vaccines protected against it, and despite signs it carried a lower risk of hospitalization. And back here, Nigeria's second oldest lender, Union Bank, has announced the divestment of 89.39% majority stake to one of the new financial service providers in the country, Titan Trust Bank Limited. In a statement sent to the Nigerian Stock Exchange, the board of Union Bank says it has received a notification from its majority shareholder, Union Bank's Global Partners Limited, Atlas Mars Limited, and other existing shareholders for the proposed divestment. The Chief Executive Officer of Union Bank, Mr. Emeka Okonkwo, explained that the transaction marks a significant milestone in the journey of the 104-year-old financial institution. On his part, the chairman of Titan Trust Bank, Mr. Tunde Lemo, says the deal represents a unique opportunity to combine Union Bank's long-standing and banking franchise with TTB's innovation-led model and promises to enhance the product and service offering for its combined valued customers. And the executive arm of government was quite busy yesterday. While the president was in Maiduguri, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo presided over what was called an extraordinary Federal Executive Council meeting at the presidential villa in Abuja. 65.3 billion naira in approvals were granted to the Ministry of Power. Let's watch this.
It's the last virtual Federal Executive Council meeting for the year, and the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, chairs the meeting on behalf of the President, who is out on an official visit to Maiduguri. 10 ministers are physically in attendance, as about 30 memos are presented for approval during the meeting held behind closed doors. The Power Minister, with one of the highest numbers of memos, told State House correspondents that all 16 of them were approved, totaling 65.3 billion naira worth of contracts awarded.
We are working so hard.
The ministry is racing to correct all grey areas within the sector, especially the nation's transmission grid.
We may not be having much problem with generation. So unless we are able to strengthen the electricity grid, which is nationwide, and to expand and to be able to evacuate what the grid can take to consumers, we have a lot of problems ahead of us.
He also reacts to calls by the National Union of Electricity Employees for a total reversal of the privatization exercise.
It's for us to sit down and look at the performance. Are there breaches? Bridges on the what was agreed upon or not? So we have reached a milestone where we will soon sit down and look at all these conditions that led to this privatization and the conditions that were agreed upon.
The Federal Executive Council, which resumes in January 2022, has in the course of the year rolled out major policies like the tax credit scheme, the police salary review, the national poverty reduction with growth strategy policy to reduce poverty in 10 years, among others.
The current administration has maintained steady optimism regarding the nation's challenges, particularly electricity supply. Now, in spite of the gaps, the Power Ministry is hoping to ramp up the current 5,000 megawatts, which is quite essential to improving access to electricity for many Nigerians from the current 48%. From the presidential villa, Gloria Umezuke, Channels Television News.
And in continuation of our end-of-year review, our focus on the show today is trade. Our trade sector growth stood at 11.90% year-on-year in the third quarter of this year. That was 24.03% points higher than the rate recorded the previous year, which was at minus 12.12% and 10.59% points lower than in the preceding quarter of 2021, which was at 22.49% growth rate. Now, trade's contribution to GDP was 14.93% higher in the third quarter than the 13.88% it represented in the previous year, and lower than the 16.66% recorded in 2021 second quarter. So how did this sector really fare generally in 2021? What were the major factors that shaped the landscape, and what are the expectations going into the new year? Mr. Ojikutu Adeni, trade and business analyst, will help us answer some of these questions. Thank you very much, Mr. Adeni, for joining me this Christmas Eve. Merry Christmas.
Same to you. Thank you, James. Thank you.
Sure. Talking about trade, I mean, you are a major player in that sector. That sector, of course, is next, I would say, in terms of contribution, in terms of to growth, next only to agriculture. Yeah. How well has this sector fared in 2021?
Basically, the trade sector, it's the sector that includes the largest chunk of participants, from the micro to the small to the medium and to the large enterprise. And this sector is as important as the agri sector that produces. So implication of this sector, doing well has a serious implication on the economy of our nation. However, some of these growth figures that we've seen, we say they are growth because where we're coming from. And I must put this to the table, that aside from the Q1 2019 that we had positive is 0.85%. COVID, some people felt, okay, it's because of COVID that we have negative growth rates in trade. But before COVID, as early as Q2 2019, we've been having a negative growth, which I think some of you, we came to the studio here to discuss. So Q3...
And those challenges or those issues that are in that sector hasn't gone away?
They have not. We will say the major, impact, the major negative balance that we had was COVID, that, we went down because of COVID. But the recovery that we're seeing compared to Q3 2020, compared to Q4 2020, that we're seeing are recoveries from the negative balances that we had, against COVID. However, what are the things that caused it? Some of those things are, number one, is that we have failed to put the policy directions together. When we talk about trade, when last do you think that the Federal Ministry of Trade and Commerce had a round table with all the states? These are very critical sectors. The trade sector encompasses the micro and the macro economy, and is the second contributor to GDP, looking at the fact that the states, some of them, they cannot even reconcile between, or they cannot define their trade policies. And if you can't define the trade policy, the macro, contributions give rise to the macro. So if you are not talking about the contribution in your state as increasing, that means your quota the quota that you are contributing to the federal data, you understand, will not be increasing as well. And if it's not increasing, the Nigerian economy is affected. So the micro is, much more important to my own view. So all the factors that are hindering them, some are to do with taxation, lack of policy, direction, and lack of proper focus of government, because some of the government does not understand that some of those taxes you put into trade, like people are doing deliveries. Those people that are doing deliveries, maybe the delivery vans or the delivery or things that are bringing produce for trade, maybe from other parts of the country to Lagos, there are 1,001 impediments on the road. The foreign exchange policy somersault and what have you. So some of these things are things that government does not or has not properly sat down and synchronize from the federal policy onto the states and the local government. So the moment you cannot, define and align these policies, because Nigerian Federation is made up of states. So some of the figures that we are seeing is as a result of the micro contributions from, each local government to the state, to the federal. So each of the states and the federal government should have an alignment. And I want to put this, forward, that a trade policy or trade roundtable should be held. If it is the minimum, it should be quarterly. So that if somebody wants to do business in Nigeria, for instance, in Sokoto, the roadblocks, the impediments that the person will have will be very minimal. So you can imagine the number of taxis, a number of
you're actually talking about, the local trading locally right now. What about international transactions, then looking at the issues in the ports?
The ports, these problems, they are interwoven. Number one, do you believe that one of the major issues in the port, the congestions, let's give kudos to them. They have done well in terms of reducing the port congestion, but there are still very, many problems. One of the major, ports in Nigeria is the Tinkan. What is the road? What's the road, the quality of road from Tinkan Port to Mile 2? It is in a very worse state, not bad, up to today. Furthermore, in the last 1 week, there has been a server issue from last week Thursday to this week Wednesday. That's like a week to the week of end of the year and the Christmas, that a lot of importers are bringing goods in. You can ask people. These are facts. And some of these things are things that when people cannot access their container, okay, what is the excuse? The servers are bad. Servers are not connecting. People can't locate. That means they can't clear their goods. These are things that will affect the trade, because eventually those people that owns those goods needs to trade with them and quickly get money, exchange the money, bring other things in, and at the end of the day, the cumulative will now give us those figures that we see. So, but the microcosm of these figures are the little drops from each and every businesses. Starting from somebody that owns a shop somewhere and wants to deliver through a bike, and you see almost by every local government, somebody is putting something on the road to impede that trade. And the same thing with somebody bringing something. Somebody just said something recently that it's easier for you to bring something or export something from Lagos to India or to America than to transport something from Lagos to Sokoto, for instance, because the impediments. So these are things that has actually, affected, the trade figures. We can say, okay, COVID, and we are recording positives. Those positives.
Well, we keep saying the base year coming from the year
coming from a very negative base year due to COVID.
Absolutely. Now, I mean, we've gone through 2020, which was, the COVID year. We are in 2021, and we've seen the vaccine, and then the variants of the various variants of the COVID, and then we're getting into 2022. Now, as a player in this sector, what are the specifics you think the government should look into in this sector to actually enhance this sector to contribute more to not just the GDP, but even revenue?
Revenue? Okay, for business people. Okay,
revenue, even for the country.
Revenue for the country, there are things that, we have actually, like the ports, is not supposed to be a driver of revenue for government, per se. The primary is to facilitate trade. Their primary, duty is to facilitate international trade. And if that is their duty, the aspects, but we have found ourselves in this situation.
Well, for you business people, once you are able to, rev up your revenue, it also impacts on the economy.
The implication for us is that the government can decide to generate revenue through, ports. But what we want is a seamless and very fast, processes. Thank God that the processes were reduced, but we want it more. We want a 24-hour clearing system, paperless clearing process. And these are achieved in other countries. So there is nothing that stops us from achieving it in Nigeria. And if we do, it will help, and improve the trade, number one. Number two is that, do you know the deficit that we're recording? We had 3.02 billion deficit in third quarter, 2021. You know these figures as a result of what are the things that we have to export? Proper policy direction. I keep saying it because if the people in charge, the Ministry of Commerce and Commerce and Industry or Trade and Commerce, if they do not understand that they need to sit with the players and assist and support them as much as possible, those figures will not change from deficit to surplus. Number one. Number two is that, do you know that the implication of inflation and the instability of the exchange rate is one of the killers of trade? Because most people that I know, the value that you have, for instance, you are buying a product for 100,000 and you are able to buy 10. When currency goes up, you might not be able to buy more than 7. Forget the price that you are selling. But your wealth has reduced, and some of the people are keeping their money to them. And if exchange keeps going up, CBN did well, the issue, the era of Aboki FS and what have you, August, September 2021, they've been able to stabilize it at 575, as of today, 573, 570. But what we need to do is these things are not, we have a lot of eggheads in Nigeria, professors, non-professors, partisans, practical people, people that are economics, that can help the government to shape some of these things. But my own view is don't shape at the macro, shape at the micro. What are the impact, what are the contributions of the micro people? Those are the things that will form those figures. But the moment you can say, okay, the inflation rate is, reducing, that is to say that what is the price of chicken? Today is Christmas Eve. 8,500. What is the impact on the average people on the street of Nigeria? So I'm not, 150% interested in those figures, but I'm interested in the impact. How many people can afford? How many people were affording those things before? And how many people can afford it now? Furthermore, if there is no stability in the foreign exchange market, if it keeps growing up and down, from September till now, they did well. The CBN did well. But they need to do better. And it's not just the CBN. We have to put all those, other ministries together to help to drive the economy. If not, CBN is just doing the function that is not theirs. Theirs is fiscal and monetary policy. It's not particularly the exchange rates.
That's their core. Mandate.
The exchange rate is just one of a lot they need to do. So, but we are overburdening them because the economy is a monolithic economy. The crude oil that is our major revenue, all other things that we have to put them into a finished product so that if, for instance, you want to export 10 containers of wood, that is just $100,000. If you produce and put value, that is, you increase the value chain.
Enhancing the value chain.
It can improve to $500,000, and that will be an import surplus for us, and that is going to be an earning for us. And those earnings, when they increase, the value of naira would grow.
I think that's where we would have to leave this conversation. I'm sure you guys belong one association or the other, and that should be the focus. How can you players in the trade sector actually help the CBN, as you've said, to stabilize, by enhancing the value chain of whichever product that you produce and you trade? I guess that might just be the conversation you guys will be having, and perhaps in collaboration with the responsible governments, So, I mean, that's where we will leave this conversation.
And let's just and the local government
absolutely carrying all the states and local
government along, and we have a better Nigeria.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Mr. Ojikita Adeniyi, for being on the show with us this morning. And once again, have a Merry Christmas.
Thank you very much.
And after the break, we will bring you a special session with the chairman, Choice International Group, Chief Diana Chen. That's in a moment. Just stay with us. Chief Diana Chen is chairman of Choice International Group and the vice chairman of the China-Africa Business Council. Her outstanding leadership at JSC Motors, which is one of the products of Choice International Group, earned her the Auto Chief Executive for the year 2021. Our business correspondent, Ini John Mekwa, visited her showroom in Victoria Island in Lagos and had a conversation with her, which covered her work and perception on the business environment in Nigeria. It's a special package for the Christmas holiday. Enjoy it.
Call this a powerhouse and you may not be far from the truth. Seated in the heart of Victoria Island, Lagos, is the corporate headquarters of Choice International Group, makers of Gree Air Conditioners, Lontor, and GAC Motors. The building also houses the office of the Belt Road Initiative, which is a global infrastructure development strategy adopted by the Chinese government in 2013 to invest in nearly 70 countries and international organizations. In 2018, Nigeria became a signatory to the initiative. The base of the China-Africa Business Council is also here. Established in 2006 through the Chinese Ministry of Civil Affairs, the China-Africa Business Council, CABC, seeks to be a platform that connects China and Africa to maximize opportunities of Africa's development and bring inherent benefits to Africans. Standing at the helm of affairs of this conglomerate and activities is Chief Diana Chen. She works from here as the chairman of Choice International Group and vice chairman and representative of the Chinese government for the China-Africa Business Council. After a tour of the showroom, I sit to have a chat with Chief Chen, as she prefers to be called, on her stay so far in Nigeria and how she's carried on with so many responsibilities to emerge the Auto Chief Executive Officer for the year 2021. We begin the conversation with her experience living and working in Nigeria for 7 years now.
7 years is not a long time, and also it's not a short time. As what we always say, 7 years is a very regular cycle to measure a knot of a knife. Especially when the people measure a knife of marriage, they use 7 years as one cycle. So 7 years also for a business is also a good cycle to measure the first step we're going through. We regard this first 7 years is our first and successful explore to Africa. That means we, thank God, we come here at the year, in the year 2014. And now 2021, we can say we are successful to establish in Africa, in Nigeria. So to get this title as a CEO of Automobile of the Year, definitely it gives a lot of encouragement and honor to all our staff and our company, to bring more well recognized to the group. So most of the people, they know me as the Chief Director, that's the Chairman CEO of the CIG Motors, who run and introduced GSC Motors successful in Nigeria. And of course, with the support of all those different governments, whether from federal or whether from the state government, we get a lot of support from them. So GSC Motors now is a joint venture company between CIG Motors and Lagos State government. Our world-class assembly plant will establish, start to make the production in the year 2022.
You'll be producing your cars here?
We already start to produce, but the world-class and the new JV big factory between Lagos State government and CIG Motors will start from 2022.
Tell us how you are involving Nigerians, in the building of your vehicles in Nigeria.
For automobile industry in the world now, the technical point is not any difficulty for the Chinese manufacturers. We can say with the advantage of Chinese production and the technical supporting system, automobile manufacturer, it is a very good advantage when we compare with those European and also Japanese. So introduce the full set of the production line to Nigeria. It is not a difficult technical transformation. It is for us, it's a very easy job.
You're the chairman of Choice International Group. You have three major products: Lonto, GAC Motors, and Gree Air Conditioners. Tell us more about these products.
Choice International Group start to do the investment in Africa, especially in Nigeria in the year 2014. We're the owner of the Lonto, this brand. Lonto is already more than 15 years history in Africa, especially in Nigeria. We are the #1 household for these rechargeable products. We get a very good reputation from our consumer. In the year 2014, when we start to do the investment in Africa, we introduce and bring GSC Motors into Africa. GSC Motors is a state-owned company. It's a Guangzhou automobile company. So it's the first Chinese automobile brand we introduced to Africa. When we introduced this brand into Africa, the people also, they think about Panasonic, they think about Daikin, they think about LG, and the other Chinese brand or AC. It's okay, but not so strong. But when we told them, no, Gree, it is very strong quality, and more importantly, it is #1 position in the world.
Tell us from your experience, like you said, it's a circle. 7 years is one circle. In this single circle that you've been operating in Nigeria, how would you describe the investment climate, that helps you to operate here?
When we say Africa, Nigeria need more attention to provide good business environment to those investors. Then you need to have better industrialization facility available, and the government policy are always guideful and needed in any time when the investor need. But what I see in Africa, especially in Nigeria, there's some major factor still exists there. It stopped more investor to continue to do a better investment job. For example, the power sector. If the power supply become one of the major challenges, it's already affect the internationalization.
So if we had like infrastructure, like you said, the road, the power, you think the opportunities that we see here will be explored more? Not just by, foreign investors, by local investors?
Yes, infrastructure project, infrastructure investment, definitely when we see all over the world, it must come in majority from the government side. Yeah, the government can use this domestic resources to build it or to get some financial support and technical support from overseas, but it's the essential and must to do it first. So infrastructure, that's the basis.
Tell us about the council. You are the vice chairman.
So it is very high international and China's political leaders agreement when they think about how to promote and help Africa to have a better internationalization growth. So that's the council established by that initiative. At the same time, because China, every 3 years we had the forecast. There's a forum of China Africa Cooperation. So this council are one of the major arms to carry all the policy or statement what have been made during this forecast. For example, this year is also a forecast year, which the summit and the forum just finished in 29th of November.
A lot of Nigerians who are watching this program would be anxious to know or eager to know how they can benefit, some of these things you have listed from the council.
A council, it is a platform to welcome any business people, whether from China, they have interest in Africa, or African business people who have interest in China. So it's a platform to welcome those people. And secondly, then, because there are so many policy initiatives from the central government of China, so how to build it into the project implement, it needs this council to do a better policy introduction seminar, policy introduction review, and also the members should work together to create some small project to meet that big target. For example, when if you read through the new statement of this forecast, 1 or 2 points, I think you can understand very easily that in the next 3 years, China government will encourage and support to do the African Film Festival in China.
A special survey conducted by the China-Africa Business Council shows that nearly 100 key private enterprises from June to July found the proportion of reinvestment in Africa. It stood at about 30%. Now, I'd like to know, what are those areas or those sectors that interest the council most when it comes to Nigerian private enterprises?
For example, the healthcare sector, education, and e-commerce, infrastructure work, and manufacturers. Yeah. So all these sectors are all can be interested by both chambers of commerce members' interest.
And then we see that the reinvestment stood at about 30%. What would, from your perspective, China, the council, what would they like to see more in Nigerian businesses so that it will attract more investment and reinvestment?
Because the big population in Nigeria, so the consumption market there, if the country remains stable and also the economy, especially the finance sector, not so much disturbed by international factor, that this investment and reinvestment will definitely grow significant.
The Belt and Road Initiative that started in 2018, where are we now?
when you see a lot of projects like the railway station and the railway between Lagos to Ibadan, Abuja to Kano, all this railway station and also the airport construction, even the Lekki DC port, all those projects supported by Chinese government are all under this Belt and Road Initiative.
What else are we expecting from the Belt and Road Initiative?
This is a forecast. I always keep telling that this forecast forums, all this announcement, they just made announcement, is also under this Belt and Road Initiative. You just think about it is a new global strategy enter from China's side. Because when we see about the globalization, that kind of concept are introduced and start from the Western countries. And also they are using the WTO organization to carry most of the trade transaction across the world. And also use the financial instrument, for example, SWIFT, and also the other international trade means. They are the modern of globalization. Only that when presidency come to the power, then he's seen maybe there's another way from China can contribute to the world, that there's some harmonious way to unite all this world again. Because after this WTO, over 100 years, there's some challenge and conflicts between the country and country. So many things are not so much harmonious. So China believes there's other wisdom we can introduce. That's we are calling this Belt and Road Initiative. It's not a demanding, it is an offer of support.
A lot of trade goes on between Nigeria and China. For 2020 alone, the United Nations noted that Nigeria export to China was about $1.77 billion, while Nigeria import from China was $15.95 billion. And I think this is the basis on which the currency swap agreement was, built on. Where can we say we are when we're talking about the currency swap agreement?
The currency swap policy, it is, I think it's also a very strategic solution Chinese government provide to the other country. Just now we mentioned in this year forecast, the Chinese government just made announcement that in the next 3 years, with this 10 e-commerce platform building, Chinese government target to import $300 billion products from Africa to China. So you can see, just now you mentioned now it's 1 billion something, right? In 3 years, we target 300 billion. So it's a very significant increase and growth if we take this opportunity. And this currency swap is also to avoid the USD dollars depreciation with the other countries' currencies, because that's already bring a lot of challenges across the world.
But is this agreement, is it making impact? I think it's about 3 years now.
Whether it's an impact or not impact, it is another thing. As I always talk to the CBN friend, I say we should use most of the media to introduce more on this swap policy, so that the Nigerian business people and Nigerian government know how to engage on it. But as a normal people, right? What you can see that during this 2-year pandemic, the project supported by Chinese government still are able to continue on it. But you need to wonder how many the foreign investors, they already stopped their investment in the last 2 years. But China's projects are still able to survive here because most of them are financed by the IMB.
There are a number of agreements signed and cultural exchanges, and displays taking place between Nigeria and China. Talking about infusion or collaboration when it comes to culture, what's the interest of China in that area?
The interest is that because China is a country with rich history. We have over 3,000 years old history and culture. That's why, as a government, as a Chinese individual, we are always be confident and be rich in our mind, in our heart, that our culture are building ourselves. The same thing when we talk about the globalization, we think, there's an imbalance in the world between the Western country and the East country. And now also the imbalance between the north part of the world and the south part of the world. Especially this called the south part of the world most of the countries are undeveloped countries. So those undeveloped countries will need more and more partnership. How to build those undeveloped countries? In our Chinese wisdom and philosophy, think that we need to help those countries to build the confidence first. So only with the confidence and help them to fight down their culture, they will help them to go long term. I believe that's the culture exchange purpose and benefit. China wants to become a leader in international. Of course, we need to also show our culture to the world. If we are introducing African movie or film festival in China, that there's a lot of opportunity that more Chinese people to understand and appreciate the creative industry, the way of their creative mindsets. Yeah, that a lot of things will start to change.
Thank you so much for being a part of the show and for sharing your memories and your experience with us here on Business Morning. We really appreciate you, Chief Diana Chen. And we wish the council a whole lot of success, because the success of the council obviously means success of a lot of businesses in Nigeria, and that's good news for the country. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us.
You're welcome.
Diana Chen, chairman of Choice International Group, having some quality time there with my colleague, Eni John Mekwa. Well, we'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we look at the markets, both the equities market and, of course, the crypto market. To stay with us. Well, it's the eve of Christmas, and yet just wondering if investors are having wonderful time out there at the equities market. Any gift, perhaps, from Santa from afar?
So sorry, let me douse that's your positive sentiment. Yuletide festivities is taking center stage across the world, and then Nigeria's stock market is not left behind. 3 consecutive days this week we've had profit taking, and of course yesterday we lost an additional 7 billion naira, no thanks to MTN Nigeria, and of course it was also quiet trading at the fixed income market as well as the unlisted securities.
People have to take profit to celebrate Christmas.
Exactly. You put your money where your mouth is, and you take it when you want to use it. So, but I think I will be dwelling on the equities market for today, reviewing Thursday's trading session. All right. This is what the market printed yesterday. Red color on the all-share index as well as the equities capitalization. And of course, the likes of Zenith Bank, FPN Holdings, and MTN Nigeria caused the 7 billion naira, or what you call the 0.03% drop on the all-share index. And then, of course, in terms of banking, in terms of sectoral performance, it was green for 4 out of the equity, 4 out of 5 sectoral equities that we track. Now, let's join Afolabi Benro, the stock equities trader at Stanbic IBTC Stockbrokers, to tell us what happened yesterday, especially where we had a divestment from Union Bank. Thank you for joining us, Afolabi.
Good morning, Anita. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. I think I'll just have to ask you just one question, just because we're running out of time. Yesterday, we had a very big news there. Small bank, Titan, I don't know whether to call it small bank, Titan Trust Bank, acquiring 89.39% shareholding in Nigeria's second oldest bank. Now, can you tell us how the bank is performing and how do you expect the market to close today?
Okay, cool. So the markets reacted positively to the news. As you mentioned, Titan Trust Bank is set to acquire an 89.39% stake in Union Bank, all subject to regulatory approvals. But Union Bank gained 9.78% yesterday. It was the top gainer in the market yesterday, closed at 5 naira 5 kobo. So far today, that positive momentum has continued. Investors seem to be quite happy with the news. It's up about 9.9%. It's trading at 5 naira 55 kobo. And the bids are quite strong. There's about 7.7 million as we speak on the bid of guys that are waiting to buy the stock. So we expect that this positive momentum will continue throughout today and possibly even into next week as well.
Okay, so thank you for that. I think just because of time, I'll just have to cut you. So we look out for how Friday's trading session will end the last day before the Christmas holiday. Thank you, Afolabi. So that was Afolabi Benru. Yeah, that was Afolabi Benru, who's an equities trader at Stanbic IBTC Stockbroker. So Chimi, I should have wished you a Merry Christmas. It's Christmas Eve. But we look out for
you have to wish me a Merry Christmas.
Yeah,
I'm wishing you a Merry Christmas. Tomorrow is Saturday.
Exactly, and you're wearing one of the colors of Christmas, red, the negative color of Christmas.
I love Christmas.
Yes, we all do love Christmas. We love Christmas. All
right, Anita, we'll take another quick time out, and when we come back, we talk crypto. It is now time to look at the cryptocurrency markets, the eve of Christmas. Laddie.
Yep, on the eve of Christmas, well, the crypto market is having some kind of Santa rally with Bitcoin crossing the 50K range, breaking that 49,005 resistance. So, Chimi, we have that rally. We have it right now in the crypto market. Market cap, $2.38 trillion is up 4.69%. 24-hour volume traded $102.78 billion traded in the total crypto market, up 14%. And we see Bitcoin dominance 40.52% there. And we see price of Bitcoin at 8 a.m. this morning, $50,858. It's trading about $51,000 now. The bulls are looking to break that 52K. It's up 5% this morning. 24-hour volume, $28.40 billion traded in Bitcoin this morning. Let's bring in Michael and Naji now, right there from the U.S. Great to have you, Michael.
Happy Friday, Laddie. How are you?
Happy Friday, happy Christmas Eve, and a little Santa Claus rally we're having right now. Michael, great to have you. So we see Bitcoin trading at 50K, 50,000 something to the dollars, but the Turkish lira is trading about 800,000 lira to Bitcoin. We're seeing making a major move this week. Is this why most people talk about Bitcoin being a hedge against inflation?
Exactly. So what you're seeing is the Turkish central bank basically reducing rates in an effort to curb inflation, which is the opposite of what you're supposed to be doing. And so you're seeing Bitcoin become this asset that people have been telling people for the longest time, that when your currency is failing, Bitcoin is going to be the option for you to stamp out that inflation. So because of the hard nature of Bitcoin, so what you're seeing is the lira in comparable terms is so the Bitcoin against the lira in appreciating terms has appreciated in the last 2 weeks, coinciding with basically the failure of the Turkish lira. So it's one of those things that, people don't really get when people say Bitcoin is the lifeboat out of the inflationary mess that we're in. But people can now visually see it on a chart. So, you pull up the Bitcoin lira chart and you literally see a currency failing. And then you backdrop that with Bitcoin and you realize, hey, Bitcoin didn't do anything in the last couple of weeks. But if you look at a Bitcoin lira chart, it's doubled in the last couple of weeks. And that's because of, the fact you can't print any more Bitcoins. As much as Erdogan wants to cut rates and print more money and, raise the minimum wage and introduce more money to stimulate that aggregate demand, you're still seeing Bitcoin rise and basically double, basically keeping up with the inflation rate, which has doubled as well. So, people are finally starting to understand that Bitcoin is that hedge and it's that asset that will protect you at least. So It might not grow your wealth, but heck, it will protect your wealth. Because if you look at Bitcoin, I mean, gold denominated against the lira, it hasn't really, it's moved, but it hasn't moved fairly as much as Bitcoin. So, Bitcoin is really emerging as a store of value, when, governments are rampant,
All right.
Full of inflation.
All right, Michael. Well, a very volatile hedge, I must say. Thank you so much, Michael, and Merry Christmas in advance.
Thank you. You as well.
Thank you. All right, there we see that top also market cap. There we see BNB breaking that $544, still trying to get across that $600 mark. Is up 2%. Cardano $1.43, up 6%. The only laggard on the top also market cap that we see XRP was gaining momentum there, trying to break the $1 mark, but it's had a pullback. It's down 2.85% at 96 cents. So, Chimi, it's not looking bad, but let's see what tomorrow holds for the market.
Well, what I'm seeing, it looks like Santa has decided to pay a visit to the crypto market, leaving Nigeria's equities market in the limbo.
Right.
That's not good.
Yeah.
I don't know if Santa is being partial this time around.
Maybe Santa just likes the volatile market.
Santa is trying to be a Gen Z.
Maybe. And Fridays are usually red, and today we're having a green Friday just before Christmas.
And perhaps we'll see some of those altcoins. I always mention Shiba Inu.
Yeah, that's Chimi's coin.
Heading up next week. That's what I probably would like to see. And I'm sure the market will be trading even on Christmas Day.
Oh, yes. Never closes.
The market that doesn't sleep.
Yep.
All right, Laddie, Merry Christmas, by the way.
Merry Christmas, Chimi.
And that's a wrap on the program for today and, of course, for the week. Thank you for being part of it. And don't forget to join us later today by 1:30 on Business Incorporated. In the meantime, have a Merry Christmas.